It's like we can't get a day off. Like we literally gotta be knocking on death's door. You know, I really don't want to do another talking video, but I have to because it is monsoon season here in Korea. Welcome back everyone to another video here. I know you're probably thinking like another talking video. I want to do like an outside travel video, show you my city of Gangsu-gu, or the new city I'm living in, but I can't do it because it is monsoon season here in Korea and it has been raining like crazy. What I want to do is I want to touch on some topics that have been popular, and because it's like the summertime, a lot of teachers are coming here to Korea, so I'm going to attempt, because the following week I won't have any time to shoot a video because I will be creating a video in Thailand. Anyway, let's get started. And as you see, the topic of this video is questions that you should ask your Hagwon during your interview, part 2. So I've come up with 6 questions that you can ask during your interview, and I would highly suggest going to take a look at part 1 and check those questions out. Those are really good questions that I came up with. All right, the first question I think you should ask, which I think is super important, is are the owners Canadian or are they Korean, or Korean Canadian, whichever way you want to say it to be respectful. And this is very important because Korean schools, they're going to have that Korean office run mentality, that hierarchy mentality where you do not question, you do not challenge authority, you don't do things that they would consider outside of your ranking, outside of your position. Versus if it's like a Canadian style school, it's going to be a very Western run mentality, similar to America basically, where it's kind of like open door policy. And for those who don't know what open door policy is, you know, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always go to the boss and talk to the boss about it. And usually the boss is really receptive and try to find like some type of solution. If it's an issue that you have with another coworker, you know, you guys can like set some time for you, the boss, or the immediate boss of, you know, your group, to sit down and, you know, discuss your issues, or if there's some ideas that you have that would positively impact the company, you can share those ideas without it being like combative. That will really dictate the atmosphere that you'll be working in. 2, and this is something that you're going to be talking about inside of your interview, which is your apartment. Now, when you do your interview, a lot of the schools will say apartment provided, or they will say a stipend. The stipend means that you can find your own apartment. Now, that may sound all good and everything, but the issue is that in Korea, it's ran a little different than America. Like in America, usually to get the apartment, after you qualify the credit check, you have to pay, you know, last month and first month's rent. Done, you get the keys. But here in Korea, it's not like that. Your rent could be 500,000, but the key money can be 500 times 10, which is basically 5 million won, or it could be times 12, which is like 6 million won. Who has that type of money to get some keys? I know I don't, and even if I did, I wasn't paying that. It's very expensive here. But a lot of the schools, or some of the schools, they will offer up to maybe 5 million or 10 million of key money in order for you to get into the apartment. The school I'm at, they offer up to 10 million won that they will pay in order for you to get the keys to the apartment. And if you ask for the pictures, let's say you don't want to look for your apartment, and you say, oh yeah, I'll take the apartment, but you ask for pictures and you're really not comfortable inside that apartment, you have the option of finding your own apartment. All right, the next question, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the more and more questions that we get into, and it's only 6, they start to like be like, ooh, like they get into very sensitive territory. But you just gotta be brave to ask, honestly. And again, remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I know how to say these questions where I'm being more inquisitive versus what's going on here. Number 3, this is actually a question I asked at the school that I'm at now, is what is the average amount of time that teachers stay? And this is very important because if you're the person that interviews you, they say, well, teachers usually stay 1 to 2 years. I want you to finish that interview and just axe it off. Axe that school off. There's a reason why people only stay in 1 to 2 years, because they don't like it. You did not come that far to be in misery. Just find something else. Find something else. You're gonna want to find a school where A lot of the teachers, 3 years is like, it's okay. 4 to 5 years is like, okay. There's a reason why people are staying 4 to 5 years and then maybe going back home because they just want to go back home. You don't always take the information like, what's the work atmosphere like? Because there's like a law in Korea where you're not allowed to badmouth work or the work environment. You're not like, you can't advertise that this is like a shitty place to work. Here we go. Actual sick days. When we are sick, it's like we can't get a day off. Like we literally gotta be knocking on death's door in order to get a day off. Like, and even to get that day off, you gotta go to the hospital, be like diagnosed with whatever sickness that you have, and then the doctor, usually you can ask the doctor, be like, can I get a sick letter, that way I can stay home. And then most of the time that's not even enough to stay home. Like you literally gotta be like in the hospital hooked up to an IV drip to stay home at these Hagwons, and it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. I know somebody that worked with COVID, but they were told to keep it under wraps, but you're not even supposed to work with. Ask about sick days because they're so important. The school that I'm at now, their policy with sick days is if you at least tell us like 6 hours before the shift, like you're feeling really, really horrible, you don't even have to get the letter that just like certifies that you have whatever sickness. You usually can get the day off and they'll get a substitute to cover it. So ask about sick days, because trying to get time off when you're sick, it's literally like pulling teeth out of a cement square. Number 5, severance. Now the severance is basically, again, I call it a bonus check that you get for completing your contract. Some schools will give it to you no matter what. Like if you want the severance after, even if you extend your contract, they'll just give it to you like, oh, thank you for completing the contract, here you go. They will give you the severance. Some schools will not give you the severance until when you've left that school. So for example, let's say you're working at, I don't know, whatever school A. You work at school A and you work there for a year and then you leave. You're gonna get your severance deposited into your bank account. But let's say you're working at school B. School B policy is once you complete your contract and you stay for another contract, they will not give you your severance. They will only give you the severance after you left the school. That means you can go home, you know, after you finish the contract and you go home, or you decide to go to another school, then you will get the severance. So if you stay 2 years, you decide to leave, you go to another school, you go home, you will get 2 years worth of a severance deposit into your bank account. Ask that question about severance. When is it paid out? How is it paid out? If you decide to stay, will you get the severance, or you don't get the, or you won't get the severance until you leave? The next advice I would give you is ask about quitting. What is the process of quitting? Now, most schools I know, my friends work at, the school I'm at, you have to at least give 60-day notice, which you have to write a letter. You can type it out. Type a letter out saying, hey, I've decided to part ways from XYZ school. Also, if you give a letter release, make sure you record it. Like, have your phone on record while you're giving that letter. Record that conversation. Can they reject you saying you quit? No, they can't reject you. They can't be like, well, I'm not accepting this. Nope. You literally just let them know I'm quitting, you know? Now, here is the sticky part. If you quit and you go home, all right, you can do that. You can just go home. But let's say you want to go to another school. Everyone I've known to quit, the school has worked for them. But everyone is not lucky in that same case. Sometimes the school will be like, you gotta find a teacher. That's not up to you to find a teacher. I wouldn't even help find a teacher. Or they're like, oh, we're not letting you go. You know, we're not giving you a letter release until we find a teacher. Me, if I tell you I'm leaving September 6th, you tell me you're not gonna give me a letter release, okay, I'm just gonna stay home. I'm not gonna come in to work. You can call my phone, you can do whatever you want. You know, I'll answer the phone. Why you're not working? Why don't I have my letter release? I literally gave you a letter. And there's CCTV everywhere inside of these schools. So they can say, oh, I didn't get it, but I know I gave it to you. I would pack up my apartment and everything, and I would just sit there and wait until I got my letter release. That was just what I would do. I would take the Malcolm X road, not the Martin Luther King. I'm not going to keep coming to work and be like, oh, you're going to give it to me? Nope. I'm not doing that. I'm going to stay home until you give me my letter. Oh, and one thing I do want to add, if you do quit, just say goodbye to your severance. Because, as I said before, the severance is like, thank you for completing your contract. Here's another paycheck. All right, thank you so much for watching my video. Those are 6 more questions I think you should ask during your interview. If you're in the interview process right now, I 100% jot those questions down because they are super, super important. But thank you again so much for watching my video. Everyone, please share, like, and hit that subscribe button. Let me tell y'all something. The beginning of the year, I said 500 by the end of the year. We're now at, well, when I'm doing this video, 411. Keep smashing that subscribe button. Thank you so much. You guys are helping my dream, my later dream in life, come true of just traveling the world and bringing my story, my experience to you guys. Again, thank you so much for your support. Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week with a new video.